Hey, True Better You with Simone Claridge here, and I have a special guest today, and this is Caileigh Feldman, and it's absolutely my pleasure to have her here. We are looking into healing and into longevity, and Caileigh has done something really outstanding. She is a young, very, how you say, spirited person, and I mean, we want to share her story so that you can see what's possible.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Simone. It's so good to connect with you as always. Every time we speak, I just warms my heart. So I'm a certified detox specialist. I'm a yoga instructor, and I'm also a Marconics energy practitioner and raw food chef. And today is day 101 on juicing for me.
Congratulations! I mean, this is outstanding. You know, I don't know how many people can do this, that they just live on fluids for 101 day at this point, right? So this is an experience I am, experiencing myself, not to this degree yet. So I haven't done that yet. So she's my absolute inspiration. And I'm so happy to see young people doing that. So we probably benefit from all what you went through, and we want to know what did you go for? Why did you do it? What got you through? I mean, to make the decision, I want to go, or I just do this. And what was then different, especially after 101 days? So what is now different in your life, and what is changed to a degree that you say your lifestyle changed or transformed you and you do something different now?
Yeah, thank you so much. Those are amazing questions. So I'll start with why I decided to do this, because to most people it does sound a little bit far out and wild, and I totally would have thought that probably 101 days ago. I would have thought that same thing. But what actually happened is, so I've been vegan for over 7 years. I've been raw for about 3 years now. Fruit-based, lots of high water content fruits and juices, and some, gourmet nut dishes now and again. And I've also been practicing intermittent fasting a lot the past 2 years, which has been amazing. And for those of you who don't know what that is, that's not eating in a window, at least, a 12-hour window a day. You're not really eating food or drinking anything. So I started to extend that window and realize, oh, I felt better without breakfast. Oh, I feel better liquids just until a certain time. So I started to experiment with this raw food lifestyle and just notice what made me feel best, what my body responded to. And over the past 6 months, I really started to notice that not only did I not need 3 meals a day, which I haven't been doing for years now, but I also didn't need 2 meals a day. I was actually just having about 1 meal a day and enjoying a lot of juicing for, starting around 12 noon or 1 p.m. every day. I would drink juices up until around 5 p.m. and then have 1 meal, and that would kind of be my day. It would be really simple and easy, and it's not something that I ever planned on doing when I became vegan or when I went raw, but it's just where my body and my intuition kind of led me over time, which has been really fun to just really allow my body to guide me and put my full trust back in my body, which is something that Simone definitely helped me a lot with over a year ago when we chatted, is really emphasizing like our body knows the way and can show us the way if we get out of the way.
That's true.
Yeah, so the reason that I started this juicing was actually because I was having a few symptoms arise from my topical steroid withdrawal, which basically around age 2, I started to get chronic eczema, and it got so bad that around that age I would like cry every day, itching my body. I would ask my mom for a new set of skin, and she's like really upset, obviously, seeing her little infant asking for a new pair of skin. And I can tune back into that memory. Oh, and I can tune back into that memory, and like there was at least 20% of me that thought maybe she can actually get me like a new set of skin. Like
I love that.
I was like, I'm not meant to suffer, but it was like a feeling of like, I'm not here to suffer. Like I'm not here for this, it was that kind of knowing. And then around age 8, I was given topical steroid creams, like hydrocortisone, and those, you know, my mom's from Zimbabwe. She doesn't have a college degree. She's incredibly smart, but she just really put a lot of faith in the doctors to take care of her babies, you know, and to prescribe the right things. And, you know, every time my eczema would come back, we'd put more tubes of the topical steroids on, and it was never all over my body. It was never on my face, really. It was always just kind of like a little bit on my neck or my wrists or my inner arms and stuff like that. So nothing unmanageable, but definitely not comfortable. And my brother also had eczema, but luckily he never took the steroid creams. I don't actually know how that happened, but it probably wasn't as bad for him, and I'm really grateful that he didn't have that experience. And then around 11, I started to really experience some like suicidal depression, so really depressive thoughts and feeling like wanting to end my life. I don't think I clearly didn't, thankfully, but I don't think I would have, but it was very much to that point of like, I don't want to be here, like, and like really thought about how I could end my life, but I don't think I ever would have done it, you know, actually, but it was very like dark moments, and that's pretty young age to have those thoughts.
Yes, I mean, imagine how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I don't know actually. Like, I spoke to someone this year. I just started sharing this year with people because, you know, I feel like the more that you go down your healing path, the more open you can be, and the more that there's really nothing to hide because we're all really one, and it all just helps the collective. And so I've started talking about it more and more, and it's definitely hard for my parents to hear that my mom feels like responsible or something. I'm like, I truly find, I'm like, Mom, I think it's like your energy that really helped get me through it. This like really loving space. But it was, what really was that feeling was feeling so separate, like just a really strong belief in separation of I'm not connected. I'm not part of this, you know, greater picture. I felt really isolated, and in my head, I didn't have anyone I felt like I could deeply talk to about my feelings. So yeah, that's why I love talking about feelings and all this stuff now. It's so important. It's such a big part of the journey, is this openness. And so yeah, and then around age 22, I was living in New York. I was teaching health. I was already vegan for 5 years, and I just started to notice that my own health wasn't at the place that I thought it should be. I started to get some rashes on my chest, and I didn't know why. I thought I was allergic to things in my apartment. I had no idea what was going on. And for those of you with health challenges, at the beginning, it is quite scary because you have no idea what the issue is. You're looking to external things to blame, to make it a quick fix. And so I realized, you know, I started looking at the tubes of the steroid cream. I'm like, you know what, this probably isn't good for me. And I was already 5 years vegan. I was teaching health, and it just never clicked that like I shouldn't be using these creams. It was such a normal part of my lifestyle. So I decided I'm giving up all toxins, like externally, internally. I gave up any processed vegan foods. I already really didn't eat much. I didn't eat that many processed vegan foods already, but like the little last bit that I did, I was like, I just want to eat really clean. And I obviously gave up the tubes of cream, and within a few days, my body started going through like a drug withdrawal, like from the topical steroids. Like my face never had eczema ever. It was always totally clear. And for the most part, the rest of my body was as well. And my whole face got like super red, inflamed, puffy. Like I was oozing lymphatic fluid from like all over my body. And I basically like looked like a burn victim. And I was living in New York at the time, but I had the summer off while I wasn't teaching. And I just remember being on the subway, like taking the subway to the train to go home to Maryland for like, I knew it was going to be until I healed for a while. And I just was like, had these big sunglasses on. I was like covering up and hiding. And I was so painful, like the feeling of like your skin, like being so tight. And yeah, it was just really, really hard. And once I got back to Maryland, I mean, it just continued on for a few weeks. And this was like a very, very intense process, and one that basically there had been moments every few months where it would be like really, really bad like this, where there'd be another purge or like another expelling of the detox. And as most of you guys know watching this, you know, the skin is like the third kidney. It's like so much is released through the skin. It's obviously also like spiritually like our barrier between us and the world. And so all these emotions, all this energy that I'd never processed was like finally coming up, because all the steroids did was suppress the energy, suppress the feelings, and that I'd never voiced and all this stuff. And so it was just coming out like so everywhere. Like I was like shedding and shedding and shedding. And with it also comes a lot of like insomnia and depression and all this stuff. It's kind of like a whammy on all ends. You know, you can't really sleep, you're really uncomfortable, your skin is leaking and bleeding and all this stuff. So it's definitely not a super fun detox to go through, but I learned a lot, and I was able to like be present with myself in the moments of like such pain, like more. I mean, you know, there's a lot of people that experience pain, but there's a lot of pain that I went through. And so that allowed me to really deepen my understanding of like what other people experience when they're in pain. And I feel like I can meet a lot of people in that deep, dark place because I've been there myself. You know, don't crawl in the hole with them, but I can say, hey, you know, I get it. I know what this feels like. And yeah, so anyways, that was about a 3-year journey of this topical steroid withdrawal. I'm about 3 years in now. So August this year, I was realizing over the summer, like, hey, I'm not really hungry at all. I'm like, hey, I'm drinking lots of juices. I felt amazing benefits. I started adding about 64 ounces of fresh juice a day into my lifestyle in around, I would say, March or April. And I started to feel like even better. I was like, wow, like I'm not hungry till dinner. I have all this energy in the day to create. Like I'm not having like a slump at all. Anytime I had food in me, I feel like it was just like obstructing my flow. And I love Arnold Ehret, you know, who's like velocity equals power minus obstruction. So I was like, I definitely knew from looking into my eyes there was a good amount of obstruction in my body, but I noticed that when I like didn't eat much or was on juices that I felt a lot of power. I felt a lot of like flow and creative energy. And so I was like, why would I want to interrupt this with like food, you know? It just wasn't worth it to me. And I'm a really good vegan raw food chef, but I would still have fun making food for my husband. Yeah, Simone said my food. But I would like still have fun making meals for my husband and all that jazz. So anyways, in August, I went to dinner with a few friends at Raw Foods with like some nut sauces, and I could feel something coming on. Like I could feel my body wasn't happy. And it was like a few days, and I was like, we were invited out to a friend's apartment. She put together a raw food spread for us, all this stuff. I was like not hungry at all, but I was like, oh, I'm not gonna like not eat this woman's beautiful food. And I felt so grateful, and she's a sweet friend. And so I was like, okay, made a plate of food, and I just knew, like, I'm like, this is gonna really not gonna be good, you know? It wasn't like, I wasn't cursing myself, I wasn't making myself guilty, I just knew that like my body was like, no. So the next day I woke up, and it was just like, I could feel these bumps on my face, I could feel this like heat in my body, I could feel so much inflammation, and I was like, that's it. I'm going on liquids. Like I'm juicing. Like this is what needs to happen. Like I don't want food. It's not serving me right now. It's not serving my highest, truest expression. And so I just was like, I expected to do like a week on juices or maybe 2 weeks. Like that was it, you know? I had done about a week on juices in January last year in Costa Rica. And that really helped give me an amazing reset. And I felt so good after that. So I was like, yeah, like 1 week should be totally perfect. And I just took it day by day. And after the first week, I felt a lot better. But I was like, I think there's a lot better I could feel. You know, why don't I just keep going? And so I've just taken this whole process day by day by day. I'm not like future. I'm not thinking about the past. And in the past, I definitely was someone where I was like, if I was juicing, I'd be like counting down the hours until the next day, or I'd be like, Wednesday, day 2 gonna be over. Like it was, the first 3 days are the hardest. I will say that the first 3 days are always the hardest of like a new thing that you're doing in your life, whether it's a routine or a habit or juice cleanse. Like it's hard. You're reprogramming your neural pathways. You're changing all of your habits in relationship to food and energy. And yeah, there's just so much I've learned over the past 101 days, and I'm so excited to share with you all. But that's really my motivation for why I started the Juice Feast, and how it ended up being so long is just taking it moment by moment. And yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful to hear. I mean, what I experienced myself, that we all talk about we should live in the now, but how this is practical done is exactly say, okay, let me feel this moment, let me explore this moment, and let me dig into, no matter what it feels, and see what's there that can be released, resolved, dissolved, however, so, and how am I coming out of that? So more a curious process. It was for me, and I really take it moment by moment, and if I don't make it, I'm okay with don't making it, then I realize and observe I'm not making it, right? So there must be then something I'm not aware about, but I like the idea of just going moment by moment, and be okay with what is arising, and realizing it's simply really not you. It's something that is blocking you from experiencing what you're capable of. And so your process was so amazing. I mean, we took the eye reading together, and I don't know if you remember, but I looked at the eyes and said, oh, I haven't seen eyes like that, right? So in the sense of, you had really, I mean, a harder time, I mean, organ-wise, so genetic-wise. Say other people may be stronger, but I mean, I couldn't understand how you lived until now so easily, right? So that's, I thought, oh man, Caileigh, I mean, no matter what, I mean, it would be great if you can fast, it's the fastest way of healing. And the beautiful thing was, you have been completely in tune with it, and you did it. And I mean, that made my heart jump, because all the young generation, I'm so going for that. There's so many suffering out there. Young people suffering what actually older people, right, suffer from, and that's not more right. So you are the absolute inspiration, the greatest example what I have seen so far, with the condition you had, and I'm sure nobody could understand what's going on for you. I totally saw that, when you said I had issues, very depressed in younger ages, I can see why. Because of, I mean, if you're not that strong organ-wise, so everything is a little bit more intense as an experience on the planet, I would say, right? So other people go, but what's your big deal? We walk here maybe 5 miles. What's your big deal? For someone it's strong, but for someone it's not so strong, from the body structure itself, right? Well, what's wrong with me, right? So yeah, I can see that. So, but you took it, and you have done every single thing and show absolute great results. I am so excited. I watched you the whole time, right? So I saw what you have been doing. So I thought, oh my goodness, that's that woman that this rocks, So I was really pleased and happy to see that. And so finally we could come together after that great success here. And I know it's a bus stop. My hubby always says it's just a bus stop, right? So and he's right, it's just a bus stop. So, and now with that new feeling you have, and I mean, you went through this process, and I know that all the people, they may be on the edge of, I want to do this too, me included, right? So I couldn't do 100 days yet. So, and how would you inspire me? What's the process? You already said going step by step is a good one, right? So, but what would you give us in order to say, okay, I go for it, So.
Oh my God. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for just seeing me and seeing like everything I've been through. And yeah, I really had, I think it's a good way to describe it as like, I like a lot of my life, like not everything, like a lot of things come very easily in a way that seem like more easy than the other people. But there are certain things that I'm like I had a very active like mind that would be very negative, a lot of like chronic negative thinking. And, you know, that was really, really the main, like one of the hardest things is just like feeling almost at war with myself. And that for me now is like just thinking of it as acidosis and my lymphatic system being blocked up. And because I already inherited a pretty backed up lymphatic system, like any extra food or any extra stuff made me feel sluggish. But when I was in a state of like less food, I feel like pretty in the flow, like I'm pretty much in harmony and at peace. But there's always so much deeper to go. And so like I shared with Simone, I'm still going to be continuing my juicing because I know this sounds wild, but for most people, I'm just not interested in going back to food. You know, that's not my goal. You know, I'm letting my body lead. If I get my appetite back and I'm around beautiful fruit and want this or that or salads, like I'm going to, of course, enjoy that. It's just not my goal. You know, my goal is just to allow my body to lead and to take it that moment by moment experience. Because, you know, for a long time when I was on the vegan foods or the raw, it was a lot of like, you know, I would get a lot of desire, like joy out of eating or pleasure out of eating. But at a sacrifice to like the greater joys of life. Like, you know, I would like, there were years on vegan foods where I overate and I would be suppressing my feelings. And that was like really intense. You know, when I was living in New York, I lived with just one roommate and it was a cute apartment, but very, very small. And I would make myself meals and I would just like eat too much and I would feel like not good. I really backed up my GI tract with some starches like rice and beans, I'm sure, and other things. And I just didn't feel good. I didn't feel alive. I didn't feel connected. And just to begin to touch, like around 3 years ago when I stopped the steroid creams, that was the first time I felt like my soul in my body. Like I felt like, like this, I literally was in front of the mirror. I get shivers now whenever I talk about this.
I do.
I was in front of the mirror in New York. I looked in the mirror and I was like, I'm ready to be who I am, you know? And I didn't know anything about spirituality, but those are like some pretty powerful words to speak. And it was like that feeling. I was like, I'm just ready to be who I am. And like, and then I just knew, like everything I knew wasn't serving me was very clear. It was like, I just consciously, for most of the time, that day forward, I always knew what would actually serve me and what wouldn't, like what choices would and wouldn't. It was like a gift, but also my ego or my pleasure, desires, all these things would come in and be like, but don't you want that? Or don't you want this? And I didn't always listen at all. But the past 101 days, I've been able to practice that listening a lot more. And my number one tip is like, treat every day like you're practicing and choose your truest, highest joy, not your momentary pleasure. Choose the choice that yourself tomorrow will thank you for today, right? Like think of your future self, and that's how you're going to build your life. And so in the past 5 or 6 months, my husband, Brian, and I, we've made huge leaps of progress in our business that we haven't been able to make in the year and a half before that, because we've just been more grounded, we've been more focused, we've been more present, and we really have prioritized building our dreams rather than just living in a state of survival, like in a state of reactivity. Oh, this thing happened. Oh, this thing happened. I would say like I live most of my life in a state of very reactive, like I think a similar or a very common symptom of adrenal fatigue, which him and I both like experienced, is this state of reactivity where you're almost like a little bit extra hyper because your adrenals are so like down, where you're kind of like, or at least for me, it was like a feeling of ungrounded, like my soul, I wasn't quite in my body. I was always a little bit like, what's next? I was very future focused. I really make plans. I was like, what are we going to do tomorrow? What are we going to do like in an hour? You know, I couldn't be in the moment at all. Like it was, and I shared with Simone's like something that's really, really helped me. I'm such a purist. Like I have herbs. I haven't really been taking them this past 101 days. I intuitively feel that they are going to be very helpful, but I have more work to do on my GI tract to remove a lot of gunk still. And then I want to work with the herbs when I know that they're going to be able to target the organs more effectively. And so that's kind of that's what I've been feeling. But the one, let me just grab the bottle. It's right here.
Yeah. Yeah, we want to know. She has been working and experimenting with hemp oil, right?
Yeah, this is the hemp oil that I use, and I can give Simone the link or the website. But it's I tried like 10 brands in the past of different hemp oil, CBD oils, hemp oils, and this is legal in all 50 states and in Japan. But I tried CBD oils and they were very like thick, almost like olive oil. And as you know, in raw foods, like for me, I'd never used oils. And I was like, why am I taking like this thick oil? It just doesn't feel like it's doing anything. I didn't have any good results. And then around 5 months ago, when I started juicing more, my mentor, Brian, and I prayed. We were like, we want one herbal botanical for our detox clients, because we're detox specialists. We work with our clients, and we're like, we want one herbal botanical that addresses the nervous system and the adrenals and like really works, so that people can just start to get out of stress and into their parasympathetic rest and digest state, instead of being in this sympathetic, fight or flight mode. And so we literally prayed, and the next day, Artemis, our mentor, I think Simone, Artemis.
I know him, yes.
He calls us and he's like, guys, like, have you ever tried liposomal hemp oil? And we're like, no, and like, I literally that day had bought a different CBD oil, and I was like, Artemis, like, I've tried them, they don't work. He's like, no, this is liposomal. It goes directly into the cell. It doesn't have to be absorbed through the GI tract. And I was like, oh, that's literally what I was praying for. He's like, this supports the nervous system and adrenals so that you can shift out of stress and so the body can do its own healing work. And I'm like, that's just literally what we were praying for. It was so like the fastest manifestation. So it's like so effective. You only take 4 pumps of it a day. You hold it under your tongue for about a minute, and it's the carrier oil is a citrus oil, so it has like high bioavailability, and it's 90% more absorbable than other.
Yeah, I mean, we probably will be able to share the link, and I think you are selling that, right? So
yeah, Brian and I, we became affiliates with the company because I started taking it within 5 days in May. I was like, my mental health like shifted. Like I was like, I felt balanced. I felt present. I felt like I could breathe. Like there was like space in my mind. Like I felt the endless now, like how time is just always now. Like it just became tangible instead of like a spiritual concept in a book that frustrated me. It was like, this is all now. It's all beautiful. Like I just started to feel that, and I felt focus. Like it helped us so much with focus and clarity in our business, and that was amazing. And then I shared it with my mom, who had huge swollen lymph nodes, and she was on raw foods at this point, and they went down to the size of peas in 2 weeks with just the hemp oil. So it was like, that kind of like really blew our minds. So I credit a lot of my juicing, the ability to stay grounded, not only on just the emotional work, but also on working with the hemp oil, just like that clarity, groundedness that I really struggled to find before. So that was a really cool gift. And I mean, I truly believe we live in a loving universe that gives you what you need when you need it. And so it's been fun to see like the divine timing of like Simone reached out to me over a year ago. I really needed you at that time to talk, and just to like your presence. And that was just such a gift. And there's just been so many gifts like that in my journey where it's like, we're all blessing each other. I love that phrase, like we're all here walking each other home, back to our divine state of being. It's like, yeah, it's.
And I have to say, it's not always, it has to be an adult that gets you going. It can be also a plant. This can be a little baby. I had this morning, our 5-month-old grandson is my cure at the moment, so yeah, he is. I mean, they are so pure, so you just remember how we truly are. And I mean, just watch that, and just how this ignites this purity and this innocence, how it ignites all the adults around, you know, and how they become also a little bit innocent, you know. It's just so cool. I love that. I love babies. I love how they smell and how they feel.
Nice.
You know, that was my hemp oil maybe for that day.
It's exactly that. It's just getting back into the heart, like whatever gets you back to the heart. And for you know, more tangible tips on the juicing, like, yeah, just creating, what I love about it is it's given me my time back. Like, I have so much time in my day, and the first 40 days I was really big on like fresh juices every day. You know, like, it was more summertime back then, like August, so we had a lot of melons and all this stuff. And then as the winter got colder, I went more to apple juice and stuff. And I've even done some pasteurized grape with lemon, and I've really experimented. And if you want to get mucus out fast and clear the body, the pasteurized grape and lemon is like top of the top. Like, I was going to the bathroom. I was having releases like 10 or 12 a day, like running to the bathroom. Like, it was wild.
And the question, I had I had a throwing up then, like not a violently throwing up when I tried that. I just threw up. I mean, there was a limit, you know, where I could take it. And then I just, no matter what I put in, I threw up. And then it didn't stay, you know, so I don't know. I didn't pass it.
Yeah, and for me, at first I would drink like a good amount of the grape and the lemon, and then I realized that like less is more, and like I just, even 1 or 2 cups of it a day in addition to other juices was still very powerful, so I didn't need to like just be on that. And I really wouldn't recommend that unless you're like accessible to a toilet for most of the day. But what's been like great is just, you know, I've been very flexible mentally about this whole thing. Like, I have let, you know, if I want to, you know, I'll just go buy a juice sometimes. Like, it's not necessarily, obviously, organic, cold pressed, fresh made is best, but I bought, you know, the apple cider from the store, that's, you know, and just drinking that some days and go with the flow a little bit, and let go of mental rigidity. I obviously feel way better when it's the fresh juice. Like, that's amazing. Like, there's nothing, you can feel it light your whole body up. Like, it's incredible. But I've also realized that if I overdrink the juice, I do feel heaviness. If the juice is too cold, I become like more temperature aware. So sipping, chewing the juice, like really enjoying each sip. And if it's too cold, I won't feel good in my body, you know. So the temperature is like a big thing as well. But it's been, so there's a lot of like more sensitivities that have come with this all. And then there's been some nights since it's gotten colder, because I'm in Boston, so it's about 38 degrees right now, and like cold rain. I've had some light broths in the evenings, just like a little bit of light veggie broth. And the next day I've seen really good releases having the hot liquids too. So it's been fun to play around a little bit and not be too like, you know, not excluding hot drinks if I feel like I need that. And I still feel good with them. Again, I don't feel the energizing like properties that I do with the juice, but in the evening for like grounding and like balancing and going to sleep, they're really, really awesome. Cool. So it's cool. Like, we have all these tools and we get to play with them, and like, and I've just, one of the benefits that I've just loved is like being able to be more present with loved ones, and like just spending time with people and like hanging out, and like no expectations. I'm not like thinking about what to say or what next. It's just spending time together. Like, and I find like the more that we come home to ourselves, the more that we enjoy being in our own body. Like, that's like such a gift. Like, this life is such a gift. And we truly are here to make of it what we want, you know. I had a funny experience last week. Brian and I went and met a college friend of mine in Boston who just moved up here, and it was good to see him. And he told me a lot about what our other college friends, I've graduated about 4 years ago now from college. He was filling us in on what they're up to, and I was like, it was like, wow, life really is this choose your own adventure, you know. Like, we just get to like choose these things. But when you start to become more plugged into this flow of love, like, life really guides you, and it's really guiding you towards like your highest and best expression. And we can run from it, we can hide from it, but it's always going to be there. Like, hello. Like, you can't run from it much.
Yeah, I agree to that. Yeah, I mean, I definitely have to agree to that. And it was, I mean, now you are my angel for today, because I'm now, I feel I'm on that edge of being a little bit, how is it, grinding about myself, you know, getting agitated. That
It's a feeling of stagnancy.
Yeah, I feel like, okay, I'm agitated. I have a sense of, I want to shorten the spending time on typing and talking. I want to go more on the videos. I want to show it. I just want to do it. I want to just be me while I'm doing it, whatever comes up, and I would just try that, right? And it feels so much more alive. It's like, did we forget about that? Right? So, and I feel like, hey, I have my computer and I go wherever I want to go, and I just pull it out when I want to share something, because that's more in tune with me. So there's something I need to work through that holds me back from that. But, you know, that's what you already said. You know, that's what, obviously, when you do let go of things, and the juice is helping, I see it as a tool. When I can really submerge into, okay, it's just something holds me back, let's discover it, or just let's take rid of it, or whatever you want to say. You know, let's transform that, what holds you back. And I'm curious what comes underneath, you know, what's there. Really, I really don't know. I forgot, you know. So yeah, you have been now my inspiration for that, so thank you.
Yeah, there's always like more we're learning about what was truly there, like what was truly at the core of like issues. And like, there was a phase where I, maybe like 2 years ago, I would like dig and dig and dig at myself, and like I realized it was like another form of like self-abuse, of like trying to figure it out. And like ultimately, like, it's just like letting it, when we let things be, let the waters settle, like that's the clarity. And it's just that space and that like feeling of expansiveness, of possibility, like that's peace is what we all want. Like, there was that great quote, I was like, happiness is the new rich, like inner peace is the new, you know, purpose. It was like some great quote like that, where it's like, yeah, like no matter, of course it's amazing to have abundance in our lives and all these different things, and they're all gifts, but like if you don't have that feeling of peace and happiness within, then it doesn't really matter. And it'll be like living in a pinball machine where you're always in reactivity mode. And so for people with, you know, stronger genetics and stuff like that, like they'll respond even faster to this juicing and to this transformation. And so yeah, like people are like, how can you do this, or how do you make like meals for your husband and not want to eat them with him? And I'm like, a little bowl for me of some warm broth or just my juice is so satisfying. Like, I literally, what tastes better to me is apples, like apple cider. Like, it just tastes better like that. There's a shift, definitely, when you go from like, obviously from, you know, meat and potatoes and all these things to like vegan, that other food starts to look kind of not as alive. I could say dead. I don't want to feel anyone to feel judged, but it doesn't look as vibrant. And then when you go from like more vegan cooked starches, which are still fun to make and share and beautiful in their own right and have a place, then you go to living foods and you're like, wow, like it just stops looking as appealing to you. And then from that to just a bowl of fruit, and then from that to juices, it's just like there's different stops on the bus station, as you say, and they're all fun, but you really start to like get in tune with what we're meant to do. And I really don't know if we're meant to have like that much, if any, food in our bodies, you know.
I don't think so either. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, in our divine state, when we're present, when our heart's open, when we're filled with love, that's the nourishment. Like, I mean, 90% of our nourishment is not food, at least, you know,
Right.
if not 100%.
Yeah, most people forget it is impressions we eat as well, and we have to digest. And I mean, sometimes you get a strong impression in and cuts you so off, you cannot even, I mean, your stomach shuts up, you have no smell because there's something you have to digest. There are other digestive systems in that sense. They need to process information, and I mean, all the shit needs to go, right? So whatever is not belonging to you, that needs to go, and at the end, it's so simple. Yeah.
Yeah, it is, and like I mentioned earlier, it's like I literally have had multiple bowel movements a day, almost every day. And
I love that. I love to talk about shit. So
too. I tell everyone, I'll post about it on social media, and a lot of it too is like I've overcome a lot of, I had a little bit of beliefs around what people find acceptable online, and I've always tried to share pretty openly, but I think I've gotten even more less afraid. I don't know, I think there's a lot more about my juicing I need to share with people over these. That's why I'm so glad we're talking today, but I don't have any fears around sharing my journey anymore. There used to be certain blocks around oh, I can say this, but maybe I shouldn't say that to that person. Now it's if they're meant to hear it, if they're meant to process it, they will, and also I feel a greater understanding of how to communicate with people, and I've just been able to see this gift of communication come across of who can respond to what and how will they take it, and it's this intuition thing of how to help activate people to who they are. It's we already are all these diamonds, but there's a lot of gunk that gets on the diamonds, and we just have to clean it off with the tools that we have, whether that's juice or presence or love or time with babies or whatever works. There's seriously nothing better than feeling love within. That really is the answer. And and I had a few people in the past year, something that did make me want to pause before doing the juicing was just seeing there's a lot of food addiction out there. There's a lot of unhealthy relationships to food, especially within, I would say, the raw community. A lot of purists, people very dogmatic. And I think what's very important is we have to let go of dogma. We have to let go of labels, because it's just going to hold us back. And it keeps us in duality of right and wrong, or good and bad, and yes and no. When we can experiment, when we're willing to experience, we can go beyond, and we can say, wow, that experience didn't serve my highest expression, but I understand why now because I experienced it. And that doesn't mean you have to go experience everything. It just means that it's not a bad thing, it's not a bad thing. And it maybe the fact that I overate for 3 years, maybe that got me to this point faster than if I hadn't, because I really got tired of food. I really got tired of hurting my body really fast, so those kinds of things, sometimes we move a little bit faster in linear time than we would if we kind of, what I mean, didn't go to that extreme. Because I am someone who kind of would go between extremes, and I have a few people who after extended juice feasts, a good friend of mine, he is now went from fruit to carnivore, and I'm it's kind of interesting to see that huge, that huge jump from someone shifting. And a lot of his reasoning really had to do with mental health, and he just didn't feel balanced and emotionally, and so I know that's a big issue for people as well. And of course, the meat and what else help feel stimulated for sure.
Yeah.
But I've seen a few people jump between extremes, and then go from fruit to meat back to fruit, and realizing that, wow, the meat made them feel terrible, and just realizing that what we really want is just love. We don't need these extremes. We don't need all this stuff. And I haven't felt this is extreme. I know that sounds extreme, but this seems normal to me. This seems where we're all evolving. And don't put a goal on it. Don't put a goal on your juice.
That's right.
Yeah, the best thing even is just do a day or two a week on juices. The rest of the days you eat, and then maybe the next week you do 3 days on juices. And 4 days with food. And so I think that's a manageable way to do it. Or even like, yeah, a few days on juice, a few days on food, and you just experiment. It will lead you. Some people with stronger constitution, they might not need to go to an extreme like me. They might not need to do this long on juices to feel that love and that flow. But I truly know that this is what my body and like needed to expand for my consciousness to be able to expand. And it really is just about that return to love.
Right. I mean, you said this quite nicely, and I mean, you summarized all the things where we are different to, I mean, as energy workers. And I have to say, I call myself more an energetic, I mean, focused person, where we put our attention on that what is flowing. And you're right. I mean, duality, we are living in duality. Welcome to the planet, right? We live in chemistry, as Dr. Morse always says, and physics, and we are bound to it. Doesn't mean that we are always, in all seconds of our lives, are bound to it, and there's way more to us. And you're right. We don't have to engage into good and bad, left and right, even though we can observe it. But when you start to observe it, you start to experimenting with it, you become childlike. I think that's what spirituality means, become like a child, right? So you say, it's playful, right? That's cool. Let me try this. What happens when I do this? You know, so like a child would do as well. So we do remember that that's an option we have. And I'm so thrilled, you know, so it's like, yeah, I don't have to say that's bad. Because there's for everything here on the planet, there's a reason why it's there. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. It might not serve me. That's correct. And I'm becoming a big girl, saying, yeah, I see what you're doing, and I watch it, and maybe I can experiment with it. But I had this experience already, so I don't need to do this again. Right?
Yeah.
It serve me. So whatever you need for that, and I have seen like those meat eating, right? Those are tools. And I mean, the other day getting an insight, when you want to create a lot on the planet, a lot of matter, if you want to say, there might be a need for having that meat involved. So I'm you know, just get this insight, and makes sense, right? So if you want to be more spiritual, you want to be more light, or you want to connect in a different level. So but when you want to be more earthbound, it's possible that's needed at this point in order to create something, and then when you're done, you may go back. So it's a possibility. I'm not saying it is, but I do think that everything and everyone has the right to discover what's right for them at the moment. And if it's the meat eating like crazy, right, there's nothing wrong with that. But how do you feel? How, at the end of the day, how do you feel? And I have done all this, like you say, right? And I have been also in a lot of extremes, and maybe go into again. But I always missed myself. I couldn't find myself in those extremes. I said, what's wrong here? You know, even though we don't need to say it's wrong, but I mean, this is this inner drive we probably experience, right? Where we say, I don't feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
And then I think those are great tools. I mean, I feel as well as you do that I have done all the other stuff what we have been trained, you know, with food. You should eat this, and you should eat this, and nutrition there, and nutrition there. Yeah, I can hear where it comes, where it's necessary, because there's so many people that really need that, and I may have needed it, and I may need it back. At the moment, I feel like you saying, well, what happened if I don't, you know? Yeah, so I see there's a lot great movement, and more in that sense, there's movement that happens, you know, so, and that's so beautiful. Like if there's a blockage in the river, the water flows around it, right? So you're changing the dimension. You don't have to run against it and back and forth. You don't have to, right? But you can find ways of dancing with it, and so we become more fluent in the whole process until we can go more into depth of it, right? So you don't want to be just on the surface running around. You want to dig a little bit deeper, and then you discover the whole roundness of it. And I think the last thing we have to master in this life here is to be at the right time, the timing process. So when we know how to move along and go into the depth, then maybe we need to discover how to be on the right time, so when is the right moment to do those things, I think that's just the most difficult part so far, to be at the right place at the right time. I'm excited to have those tools of juicing and whatever helps us to get there.
Yeah, it's been incredible. I mean, there's been definitely moments of like huge spiritual insight where I just like feel like so much is clarified. And what I've learned I used to like I would want answers now. I would want to know things like immediately. And I've realized that like that's not how love works. Like you can't magnetize something to you by like holding it tightly. You have to like open your hands and receive and just like allow things to come.
Mm-hmm.
Like we create the space for like the inspiration to come. And for me, all I keep saying is I'm just creating space for like more divine energy to flow through and in me. And like I used to really like, when you think about higher consciousness, it's like, are you in service to yourself or are you in service to like the greater good? And my goal is obviously like to be in service to the greater good and to be like an instrument of divinity on this planet, because that's really what we're all here to do. And I probably more than most people, maybe not more than most people, but I've very much felt what it feels like to be in service to self, to feel isolated and separate, alone and not a part of something. And through the juicing and the fasting and all this stuff, like it's shown, I like no longer, it's not a concept of like the oneness or whatever. Like it's become the tangible thing where I'm literally being guided every day in who to reach out to, who to talk to, what business to focus on. Like the businesses that we've become involved in the past 4 or 5 months, like it's just they're such a new earth. They're so regenerative. They're all about like peace and harmony and love. And if something's not in alignment with that, then it's not what I'm in alignment with. And it's not bad. It's just not where I want to place my energy. And so that's been so cool, is to feel like that divine force just guiding me back home, like what's best for all. And to see how interconnected we all are. Like, it's so cool. Like, I'll have a dream about a friend and I'll reach out and they'll have had an experience that was that in their life. And it's just so fun to feel like those, like time collapsing in those ways of like, we're all with each other. And, like I've had a few just really beautiful dreams, over the past 101 days of just connecting, like I think a few connecting with like loved ones who passed on, or, just beautiful ones where I'm like with riding dolphins or whales, like really fun dreams where it's like, you just feel this childlike joy. And that really is what it's all about, is just this joy to create and expand. And then also this like taking responsibility, like not just, I was very much, I think 2 years ago, like especially I was in a place of like not wanting to take responsibility for myself. Like it was kind of like, I would do like some self-work, but a lot, like hide a lot for myself, like pretending I wouldn't see my own stuff. And then I just like, once I stopped reacting to my own stuff and seeing it as bad, and just realizing that, like you said, it might just be a boulder. I'm not going to dissolve it by hating it. I'm not going to dissolve it by like punching it. I just like find a way to flow with it until like the power of the water over time will break it down, and like not worry about when it'll get broken down either. Like, I remember when one of my mentors, Artemis, first saw my eyes, he was like, also like you, he was like, you've got a lot of heavy karma.
Genetics, yeah.
He was like, most of this is genetic. Like you literally couldn't have created this in a lifetime. And I'm like, well, thanks, but also like, thanks, lineage. But I also know that like, if we're in this reality and we have a big mission, it's like, now I can relate to all these people with these blockages because I've had them. So I can like, help support as needed. But anyway, so he looked at my eyes and said that, and I was like, so every so often I'll look at my eyes and I'll be like, are things changing there? No, but
they may change. I mean, the healing lines, they may come in, but the shapes, I think they may stay.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're beautiful. I mean, the eyes are beautiful. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, and I've seen the fibers straighten. I've seen whiteness clear. Like, I've seen a lot change, and it's been fun. And I think it'll just continue to. And I'll take some more eye photos soon, so I can send.
That would be so wonderful. And I mean, seriously, you have so changed. It's not, I mean, just your outlook. It's also the way how you present yourself, how you hold yourself, how you move, right? So there's so much more relief in, I mean, like and so comfortable presence, you know. So you did a wonderful job. I am so happy to see that. So that's beautiful. And please tell a little bit if people want to engage with you, if people want to talk with you, get in contact with you. Can you share a little bit some connections with that?
Okay, sure thing. So my website with my husband is GiveJoyA Chance.com. So really easy, GiveJoyA Chance. So if you go to our website, we have some free raw recipes that also have some juices, and we have a lot of awesome detox articles, and we've got 3 main detox packages. If you want to work with us, if you're looking for support on your journey, if you want to know how to do some juicing stuff, we can definitely support you with that. And we also have our energy work called Marconics up on our website, and we do remote sessions and in-person sessions, and it's incredible. But I will let you guys read about that on the site. It's really just helping to shift your consciousness, and in addition to the physical work we do, really clearing our bodies, it allows for integrations of who you truly are and that pure light within to really just expand. So GiveJoyAChance.com, and I'll give Simone the link for the hemp oil as well for those of you who are interested. But in terms of simplicity and focus, for me, it was addressing the adrenals and nervous system so that I had this mental clarity and poise. And I feel not indebted, but very, very grateful that this botanical entered my life. And very, very grateful for all people like Arnold Air, Dr. Morris, Simone, Artemis, all these people who have really helped pave and walk this path. And yeah, we're really all just walking each other home on the shoulders of giants, and it really is all experimentation too. We're all still learning, you know, which is really fun. And the more we all share and aren't afraid to share our journeys, the more that we can all learn and grow and be inspired. And yeah, just letting go of shame, letting go of fear, letting go of guilt, letting go of right or wrong, creates so much more expansion and freedom in your life. And you deserve to live in joy. It's possible. It's more than possible.
That's right. Absolute expression. By the way, if you want to say something what your husband is doing, because maybe the people don't know what he's doing, because it's such a great, add on. Those of you together is such a great package, if you want to say.
Oh yeah, so my husband and I, we do all of our detox consults together, which is really fun. So we work as a team, and he's incredible. Like Brian, since he was 13, he was led to work with Zen Buddhism. That was actually his big Buddha poster. But he was drawn to go to a Korean Buddhist temple at age 13, and he became a Buddhist teacher, you know, a Dharma instructor at age 14, which is like so cute, you know. And he studied in India. He is an incredible sound healer. We do events with crystal bowls, but our main focus for energy work is definitely on Marconics, and of course also on detox. And he's just been a huge support. Yesterday, he surprised me. He made me a really cute card. I have it right here.
Oh, yeah, please. Oh, that's cool.
Happy Day 100 on Juices.
Oh.
He wrote this really cute card, and he also he did a display of like 10, like probably 6 different kinds of juice, like all different kinds, with like pineapple, apple, mint, lemon, and celery, and like so I got to taste test and like pick my favorite. And he's just been like so supportive, and we have different, you know, genetic weaknesses going on, and he has so much fluidity in his body. He has a lot of like flow, like structurally, which is really cool. But so we just balance each other really well, and he's been like just the complete example of unconditional love towards me, like over our whole relationship. But definitely this past 100 days, I could not have done this without so much love, support, acceptance. And at the same time, I know it's also what I've been doing has been blowing his mind a little bit, and he has a lot of like respect for it. And
oh yeah, I believe him.
yeah, he does about like one meal a day. He really likes to have like juice all day, and then he might have like a big bowl of banana and ice cream, and then like a meal with like a salad and a little bit of cooked veggies, or like baked sweet potato. So pretty much high raw during the summer, and most of the year he's raw. And then I was like in the fall and the winter, I could see how this cooked food really helped balance him and give him this like grounded but really good flow. During the day, he's like light, juicy, energetic, and at night, just like really enjoyable meal. So it's been fun. Like, and I've had a lot of fun making him food, and
you're good in that. That's right.
yeah. Cooking was a huge part of my creative expression, and my mom's an incredible vegan chef as well. But I'm working to shift like that creative expression to more music and other things that aren't related to food, and so that's just like a process. And I kind of like mourned the loss of my cooking like 2 years ago, so it was definitely, I had to like mourn it and kind of grieve it a little bit. And of course, I still make what?
I have to say, and I'm a little bit hesitant because of I love to be in the kitchen. I enjoy it. I mean, this juicing I still can, right? So, but I love to please my hubby and serve something, and so nurture him, you know. So now I have to find different ways as well. So maybe we have some on that. Some on that would be awesome.
Yeah, it's so good. And like, so I'm gonna focus more on my singing and the songwriting and all this stuff, and it's something that I've been wanting to prioritize more because we do sound healings. I allow a lot of songs to come through. I love writing music, but I have so much growth to do in that area, like so much growth. And
we need to talk about that. We need to talk about this because I had the same. I'm the same in tune with singing, right? And I haven't been singing for so long. So and somehow it feels like it wants to come on now.
and now I have like the time to do it. So I just need to create that, like, you know, opportunity, and like you have to kind of always, when you let one thing go, I always find something so much better, something so much more like in tune comes into our life. But there is that shift where it's like, it's hard. And I'm getting a lot of shivers right now. So I'm just,
yeah, me too.
like 3 years ago, when I first let go of the steroid creams, I was in a over 7 year on and off relationship. And he broke up with me right when I went through the withdrawal. So it was like very sad, but obviously for the best. And my brother saw how sad I was, but he said to me, you either let go or you're let go or be dragged, which is like that Zen Buddhist thing. And I was like my brother's like 2 years younger, and my mouth was just like on the floor, like, let go or be dragged. I was like, but I can't let go. If you hold on to anything other than just change is who we are. Change is life. If we are in resistance to life, to growth, we are in a state of stagnation. We are in a state of a downward spiral. So now I just look at life as, am I choosing an upward spiral or a downward spiral or an inward spiral or an outward spiral? Like, am I looking for something outside of me, or am I trying to, or am I going within and really finding that within? And you can still have fun in the kitchen and make beautiful things, but balancing it with those other expressions, I think, are good as well. Like, it's a good question. Like, how do we nurture without food? Mm-hmm. Create like a nurturing environment that's centered around connection and relationship. And I think music is going to be a really big bridge.
I think so too. I think this would be, I mean, we have it already in medical Qigong as a healing tool. You use it as a healing tool. And I do think that our new way of healing and helping people to get better will be more into the frequencies and into the energetics of the physics, not so much into chemistry, right? So because of too much side effects and we don't know, we just don't know. And if we all could admit that we don't know and become more experimental, as you say, then it might be a little bit easier for everyone and we don't need to suffer that much.
Exactly. And for Brian, it's like with the singing bowls, he used to do a lot more one-on-one healings, and he could clear a lot with the bowls, using the bowls to help release energy. But if someone the next day then returned to that dysharmonic state, then their vehicle couldn't hold the light. And so what this juicing and all these tools allow is for us to hold a higher resonance, a higher frequency, and like ground it in and really like anchor that. And then each of us becomes like a gatekeeper for this new information, where we each kind of anchor it in, like a gatekeeper for juicing or for music or for this, and then you follow in our footsteps, and it makes it easier because they're not going alone. Like, I can only imagine how difficult for Fully Raw Christina, like 13 years ago, to be raw and on fruit, and like what an amazing person leading the way in that. And then you pass the baton on, and now I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go juicing, and then I go pass it to someone else, so it's like this thing.
Yeah, oh, beautiful. I mean, you're such a beauty. I am so happy that we had this time together. I'm so happy to share this with other people now, and I hope it goes out in the way that more people can, benefit from what has been shared. There's so much wisdom here. And by the way, ice cream, when you say ice cream, this is raw food. Ice cream means it's frozen banana, right? So it's not the ice cream, right? So
banana.
Maybe people don't know that. So raw ice cream means you freeze the banana and you go to a Novak juice or whatever. So, and then it tastes like ice cream. It really does. So
banana and ice cream.
Yep. So I wanted to clarify. So Brian is also very much into the clean food.
He went raw when we first met, like over about 2.5 years ago. He went from vegetarian straight to raw, like, so he like didn't even have like a vegan
Good.
And he lost like 20 pounds like in a few months, and then he went a little too hard too fast.
That's something before we end here, losing weight, because that's it's a huge issue that in the mindset of the people, you will lose probably 1 pound a day when you start out. I mean, for people, they have a lot they may look forward to, but for you didn't have a lot. I didn't have a lot, right? So can you explain maybe a little bit how it's actually balance itself?
Yeah, totally. It's a good question. So I think I've lost around 20, probably like 18 to 20 pounds throughout 100 days, which
not a lot.
It's not too bad. And I started out around like 120 pounds, like maybe I'm around 100 pounds today, which is kind of funny. But my husband and I, we both agree, like, I can see a lot of inflammation that's gone down in my body. Like, I stored, my genetic lineage, a lot of us women like stored more weight in our legs. My upper body's always been pretty small, but I would store more in like my thighs or my hips, and I can see a lot of inflammation that's gone from those areas. And I just feel more like space in my body, and I can feel my face is like a lot less, like things have changed, but not in a drastic way where I don't think I look starving or emaciated.
No, you look amazing. Yeah. You look like a shining ball, so yeah.
Yeah, and I don't feel like, I actually haven't felt hunger at all in this 101 days. I felt thirsty, but I generally don't feel thirsty until like around this time, like 2 or 3 p.m. But yeah, so I've communicated with my body. I'm like, I don't want to lose too much weight, especially not in the beginning. I kind of set my intentions. I was like, I want to be able to go for a while because I want to feel really good again. Like, I don't want to eat until I feel like really good again. And so that was just powerful. And I don't have very much fear around losing weight. So that wasn't like a big mental thing for me to deal with. But I agree. A lot of people are underweight and are afraid of going under. Most people, as you know, obviously you know, Simone, but they're underweight because they're malabsorbed. They're not absorbing food anyways. And so honestly, one of the best things those people can do is whatever they're actually eating, add in a lot more fresh juices into your day, just so you can begin to get those nutrients and begin to get that hydration. Because I felt so, like when I was on vegan foods or even raw vegan foods, I felt much more hunger because I wasn't getting the... And so when I started to add in the juicing in May, like around 64 ounces of fresh juice a day, I was suddenly satisfied. I was like, my body's been craving lots of juice. Oh my gosh. Like my body's just wanted like straight up fruit juice. And most people, you know, it's not too much sugar. It's a perfect food for our bodies at this stage. Like, you know, there's always going to be a new stage. And so I say at this stage because who knows? But it's literally feels like it's feeding my cells. I just feel like light flooding through me when I drink fresh orange juice, for example, which I have right over here. But I just feel like it's just so incredible. So whatever you're doing, like just if you add in more fresh juice, that's going to start to put things in motion to get you on this path. And if you're drinking enough juice, you're not going to be losing tons of weight. You just won't, because especially if it's fruit juice. So a lot of people fear fruit juice. Fruit juice is perfect food for truly our bodies. Like it's perfect at eliminating waste. It's just been an incredible experience. You know, people ask about detox symptoms. I'm kind of the opposite. Like I have detox symptoms when I'm not on juicing. I feel good when I'm on this. I'll have lots of bowel movements and releases. So I guess that's not a symptom. It's just releasing. But like, I see a lot of mucus coming out that way, which is awesome. But, you know, for me, when I have cooked food or this, I feel like I've been punched in the face. Like I feel like I've been knocked out. And that's, you know, showing lymphatically like where my body was at. But yeah, so don't fear the weight loss. Like you just drink enough juice, take it easy. Maybe you just start with, you know, juices and 2 meals a day. And then eventually a few months later, you do lots of juices and 1 meal a day. But don't play mental games. If you're hungry, have some fresh juice and then have a meal. You know, don't try to like make a game of it or try to see how long you can go from your head. And especially if you have any disordered eating patterns, really focus on self-love first. I had to heal and do a lot of work with that before I was in a place where I knew I could make clear decisions and, you know, really give my body what it was asking for, which is apparently juice.
Oh, sweet. I mean, I'm definitely will help also for people they want to do that. That's something I'm monitoring, right? So I will like a juice challenge where I meet every morning, 8 o'clock. So let's all juice together. Let's make this happen and just do it together. So I think that's need a little bit support. And that's where I'm going into, where I say, okay, let's support us all together. And if there's anything to talk about, I will talk about. But yeah, that's what I'm offering here. So as a continuous thing. So, I mean, it was absolute blessing to have you here. And it's still a blessing because you're still here. Yeah, and congratulations for, I mean, whatever you have been going through. You did an amazing job. And I mean, everyone connects with you and wants to work with you. I highly, highly recommend both of them. They are outstanding, amazing couple. And because they are two, that's an exponential energy comes towards you. They are working, I mean, really on a higher level of getting themselves into themselves so they can be more with you. So I hope you continue and let us know maybe the next time we have another interview about something where you went after the 101 days now. What was in the next playful, more light section of your life you went into? So we are curious about this, and we probably will have a follow-up on that, right?
Oh, definitely, yeah. We'll do another interview on day 200.
Oh, yay! That's cool. So we keep it updated, right? So okay. Yeah. So thank you so much, and thank you for sharing.
Love you, Simone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.